Hello and welcome to another episode of the What's Next in Marketing interview series. Across our video series, we speak with industry leaders to unpack the ideas shaping marketing today, from shifting consumer behavior to the strategies brands need to stay ahead. And in this episode, we're zeroing in on a challenge many are still trying to get right: scaling personalization. How do you scale without losing authenticity? And how do you bring in technology without losing the human touch? So today, we'll explore what it really takes to make personalization work, not just in theory, but in practice. Joining us today is Bipasha, Group Chief Marketing Officer at EtonHouse International Education Group, who will be sharing her insights on this topic. Bipasha also emerged with silver in last year's Empowered Women Awards in the Education and E-Learning Marketing category. Hi Bipasha, how are you doing today?
Hey, hi, Shar. Looking forward to what the week has in store and really excited to be here with you.
That is awesome to hear, and we are very excited to have you. So, to officially start our conversation, when we talk about scaling personalization, what does that actually mean for brands serving the educational sector?
Well, Shar, I think what's important to put out there right at the beginning is the starting point, and that is that education is one of the most personal decisions a family will ever make. It's, in fact, the opposite of transactional. It's deeply, deeply relational. So parents are not choosing a product, they are making a high stakes, deeply emotional call for their children's identity, their sense of belonging, and their future. So this is something that we do not forget. It's something for us to remember as we embark on any form of personalization or technology implementation in our organization. So if you were to ask me, because it's intentionally relational, personalization in our sector is not a marketing innovation. I don't consider it to be. It's really a baseline expectation. And however, when you talk about scaling personalization, now that's something else. That means responding to families with greater relevance and contextual intelligence, and especially important as you grow across segments and geographies without losing the sense of being understood. Now, at EtonHouse, we have extraordinary depth, and the complexity is even greater when you're talking about scaling across multiple countries. So we're looking at very, very different family profiles. So variability in our space is very, very significant. Therefore, the higher the variability, the more important precise personalization at scale becomes. But what has been important for us to really come back to as a starting point, as really our North Star, is the fact that this whole experience is not a funnel experience as far as parents are concerned. It is the future of their child, and we take that responsibility with a lot of pride, but also with a lot of integrity. And so therefore, all of our experiences, being personalization at the school level or personalization at scale, is informed by that philosophy.
Bipasha, it is interesting that you see personalization not as a marketing move, but as the next logical step in improving parents' experience with EtonHouse. So now I'd like to know, before EtonHouse scaled into its current marketing strategies, based on your years of experience as a marketing leader, what are the biggest misunderstandings about personalization today, especially when it comes to technology?
I think the most persistent misconception is that personalization could mean inserting a name into an email or pushing segmented content through rule-based flow. And if you were to ask me, that's targeting. That's really basic rule-based targeting. Secondly, I think technology does not really create personalization, it enables it. So it does not equate into personalization. And that's something that we need to understand as marketeers, because I think there is this arms race to build a lot of tech stacks and create a lot of complexity using technology. But it's important to understand that it's really just a tool, it's an enabler. The third, I would say, is more data does not automatically mean better personalization. I think more data without a clear interpretation layer really creates more noise. And over the years, as we all as we've grown into our organizations and we built more and more tech stacks, we've realized that we've got an incredible amount of data. That matters here is not what data do we actually have, but to really see through the data and to be able to identify someone who's exploring a philosophy vis-a-vis somebody who's ready to make that decision to tour your school. So, and lastly, I think there is a perception that high-tech personalization sits somewhat awkwardly with a deeply human sector like education. But I would argue that the opposite is true, because in sectors where involvement is much deeper, such as healthcare, banking, etc., the decision is highly complex and highly nuanced, and therefore the need for relevance and trust is even greater. And so for larger organizations, the intentional use of technology to build relevance and trust is therefore even more critical.
I really like what you said on how technology is just a tool or a platform, and it is still up to marketers to effectively leverage it. So, building on that, in your experience, Bipasha, where do educational institutions typically lose the human touch when they try to scale their marketing strategies as personalized?
I feel they lose it when they confuse operational efficiency with relational depth. And they build automated journeys, they build lead scoring models. But I think what's important for marketers to do is stop and ask whether those journeys actually reflect how parents think, feel, and decide. They experience it as a series of anxious questions. Will my child be happy here? Will they belong? Will they be seen for who they are? And it's therefore a complex web of questions and experiences that really goes into that whole admissions pipeline. Now, if a family has signaled strong intent across multiple interactions. So, for example, they come to your website, they've accessed your advertising assets, and they finally speak to someone. And there are times when they have to start from ground zero. That is, they have to start from the fact that they are so and so, and this is what they're looking for. Now, if you ask me, is a failure, because the data has already been captured, the signals have already been accessed into your system, but the institution did not translate it into a more intelligent human conversation, which means that this data did not percolate to your admissions team. I would say the loss of human touch is rarely caused by technology. It's caused by deploying technology without empathy, without good journey design, and without empowering the people who ultimately carry the relationship.
Deploying technology with empathy. I really love this, Bipasha. Well, moving forward for my next question, how do you stop personalization from becoming just a checklist or an automated output within an organization in general?
Well, in our case, we always start with philosophy before platform. Now, personalization at EtonHouse begins with a genuine belief that every family context matters, every learner is different, and I think every trust building moment is important. Now, without that foundation, all you're doing is pretty much industrializing communication or automation. So, the first thing that we did is we defined very clear use cases, so not just tools. So, rather than saying, oh, we have a CDP, so let's personalize, the better question to ask is where in the journey is relevance most needed and where technology meaningfully sort of enhances that experience. The second is building in a human override. Now, not every interaction should be automated, not every family should be processed through the same logic. So to build in those exceptions into a larger system where intuition and human intervention is important and needs to be front loaded is also very, very important. The third is to measure the right thing. So if your KPI is only throughput, or just looking at how many conversations are going through the system, all you're building is really automation. But if you want to measure the quality of engagement, the speed of meaningful conversations, the tour conversions, as well as the parent sentiment as a result of an admissions experience, the system behaves very differently. So it's important to remember that the purpose of personalization at scale, where we are moving, is really where we are moving from mass communication or targeting, as we call it, into contextual orchestration.
That is really actually striking. Brand philosophy before technology. It really wraps up the whole idea of having direction before embracing anything like automation, which is leading to my next question actually, Bipasha. How has EtonHouse been utilizing skilled personalization in your marketing strategies?
I think our approach has always been to build an ecosystem rather than deploying a single tool. Now, I mentioned CRM. Now, we've long used CRM to track admissions and inquiries and admissions journey. But however, we realize that what it really helps us to do is create a database or not just a database, it is an enabler, but there are many different ways where parents speak to us. So, for example, they email us, they might reach us through instant messengers on various platforms, on social platforms, they could WhatsApp us, and they could come to our website as well. So, I think the question was, how do we personalize, or how do we ensure that we are relevant and contextually intelligent in the way we are responding to our families across all of these multiple touch points? More recently, we have deployed the CDP, the Customer Data Platform. The idea was to really unify behavioral signals across touch points, so we understand not just who the family is, but how are they engaging and how are they showing intent towards our schools and where they are in that decision cycle. We are analyzing intent patterns across audience segments. We are enabling more responsive conversational experiences so families get answers faster rather than having to wait. And also, we are giving our internal teams, which is our admissions teams, better context so that when a human conversation happens, it is more informed and more meaningful. For us, the purpose of AI is not to mimic human connection. It is to reduce friction and to improve relevance and shorten the path to trust. So the thinking is to use technology to become more nuanced rather than more generic, more human rather than more automated.
I honestly think that you are building the right ecosystem and tech stack, not just to gather insights, of course, but ultimately to provide a better experience for your stakeholders. I'd like to know more for you, Bipasha. What does the future look like when AI assistants and technology work in tandem and not in conflict?
The future that I'm hoping for is where technology becomes less visible but far more useful. And the best use of technology in education marketing is not when families notice it, it's when they simply feel understood and when the journey feels intuitive, when the right information arrives at the right moment, and when the human interaction that follows is warmer because the groundwork has already been done. So, coming to tech stacks, the future I would hope for my organization and for organizations that are in education is that different tech stacks come together as an ecosystem rather than isolated systems. So, be it AI, CRM, CDP, whatever it is that you're using, or even a ticketing system like we use in Zendesk. I think for all of us to move from broad segmentation to far more dynamic, adaptive models to respond to live behavioral signals and micro moments in the journey rather than fixed audience buckets. And I think the institutions that will really win are not the ones with the maximum amount of technology or huge tech stacks. They are the ones that are clearest about where technology adds value and where human centricity is the essence of it. Now, I keep coming back to it also perhaps because I've been influenced a little bit about this area, particularly because I've recently graduated from INSEAD, and one of the courses was about, there's a particular book that I would like to cite here, and it's a bit of a plug, but the professor's name is Fanish Buranaman, and the book is Rehumanize. This was a beautiful reminder that it's important to continue to celebrate the value of human centricity in an AI-driven world.
You know, Bipasha, I agree with you that at the center of everything that marketers do, it should always be their customers. And as a lot of marketers are watching us right now, what advice would you give to organizations ready to scale their marketing strategy but are afraid of losing authenticity?
I think the biggest opportunity as well as the biggest challenge is probably people. It's not technology. And as I said, we've been on this journey since 2017, and every stumbling block we have encountered has ultimately come back to the human side of the equation, not the technological side of it. So when it came to CRM, it was about adoption, and the system is only as good as the people who are using it and feeding it. If your admissions team is not inputting consistently and there's no shared discipline around data hygiene, then no amount of reporting or automation will save you. You're seeing bad data in terms of insights or in terms of your dashboard. Most teams default to using CDP as a slightly more sophisticated segmentation tool, but actually the real power is that it is a very sophisticated intelligence layer. But to get the team to think beyond rule-based content delivery and towards genuine behavioral interpretation requires a mind shift change. So it's the discipline to focus on just the high value use cases, and not just the ones that are strategically important, but also the ones that deliver immediate results or immediate visibility. Now, that visibility matters enormously because what it creates is the internal case for scaling. So, if people cannot see the difference, if people cannot see how this implementation is making their lives easier or making the lives of the people they are interacting with, in this case parents, easier, you will never get a wider organization strength or the willingness or the intent behind you. And I think the last is advocacy and alignment. And in any organization of scale, people come to work from different functional areas, so they have different functional competencies, different motivations. And technological transformation requires everyone to be pointing in the same direction, to have the right people with the innovation mindset, the mindset to be critical thinkers, problem solvers. And I know this is something that everyone talks about. It's pretty cliched, but you really understand the significance of this when you are doing a technology implementation. I think the hardest part is indeed people, their habits, their confidence, and their willingness to think differently. And once you get that right, everything else follows pretty easily.
Thank you so much again, Bipasha, for joining us today and for sharing very thoughtful insights. I think what really stood out from our conversation is that scaling personalization is not just about doing more, it's about doing things better. It's about using the right tools but staying grounded in what truly matters: trust, relevance, and genuine human connection.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. I hope I could create some food for thought for people listening in. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Shah.
We just heard from Bipasha, Group Chief Marketing Officer at EtonHouse International Education Group. And it's clear that the future of marketing lies in striking that balance between scale and sincerity. Stay tuned for more conversations with industry leaders in our MARKETECH APAC's What's Next in Marketing interview series. My name is Sharana Samilia. Keep evolving.